Retro gaming is big business, and I want to talk to you guys today about some staple titles across many retro gaming consoles, particularly the Super Nintendo, because I get asked a lot, if I'm starting a collection, what games should I look out for? But I've set myself a little challenge with this one. I'm not going to mention any of the staple titles. So for example, on the Sega Mega Drive, a staple title would be a Sonic the Hedgehog game or Streets of Rage. And for the Super Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, or anything from that kind of iteration, for example, Super Mario Kart. So I'm not going to mention any of the obvious titles. I'm taking this in a little bit of a different way and hopefully giving you guys some examples of what to look out for in retro game hunts, retro gaming markets, and especially if you're just about to start a retro gaming collection. Don't go anywhere, got quite a few titles. This was a difficult one. Let's take a look. So let's start with my favourite console, the Super Nintendo. Plock. I'm going to go straight in with this one. Plock I've spoke about in other videos, but for new viewers or for people that forgot, Plock is a nice side-scrolling adventure game in which sees this weird red blob trying to find where the hell his underwear is, and you're kind of traversing across a map which takes the form of a top-down beautiful kind of island, and you can get boats from one island to the next, which is really, really cool. So once you're at the level, on your map you dive into it, and Plock uses different powers to just defeat enemies. So one of his things is to kind of throw his body parts, defeat enemies, dodge enemies, collect little power-ups, get as many points as possible. It's a really, really nice recipe for a side-scrolling adventure game that makes the popping colours and sprites look beautiful on the Super Nintendo. I only discovered Plock around 2014-2015. It wasn't a game that I played back in my childhood. So I was absolutely mesmerised to be able to have this new Super Nintendo gaming experience. So if you haven't checked it out, you have to bag yourselves a copy. It goes for anywhere between 10 and 15 unboxed, and then kind of like 15 upwards if you can get a boxed copy. So it's not too badly priced. So that's why I thought I'd mention it. So Plock is my first game. Let me know if you've played it. For all you petrol heads, we've got a racing game up next on the Super Nintendo that rivals Lotus Turbo Challenge on the Amiga. I'm going to stick Top Gear in this list. Playable in one player or two player split screen. Very, very fast paced racing game. There's not a massive amount of kind of depth to it because it is what it says on the tin. You have to meet your checkpoints within various time limits. There's a really kick-ass soundtrack. There's not much customizations options, but like I used to play Lotus Turbo Challenge at my friend Matt's house, and I just used to love, you'd run over the bubbles. I can't even remember what I really liked about it. I just felt drawn to that game. So when I first picked up Lotus Turbo Challenge as a wee girl, I felt that it took me back to that experience, and it's not talked about enough. So if you're after a racer that's out of your typical kind of your Mario Karts, etc., definitely check out Top Gear on the Super Nintendo. It goes between £5 to £10, and then £10 plus for a box copy, so it's not too badly priced. And I know that when I have mentioned it on social media before, a lot of you guys have had a lot of respect for Top Gear. So go and check it out, guys, and let's get on to the third game. So we'll go for a little side-scrolling shoot 'em up now. I'm going to drop Super R-Type into the mix. So this game is different because it's a little bit more expensive, boxed and cartridge only. But again, I think Super R-Type really tested the Super Nintendo's hardware back in the day. Phenomenal soundtrack, very, very fast-paced, action. And if you're familiar with, it kind of reminded me of the levels on Wonder Boy 3 on the Sega Mega Drive, when you're on that kind of weird, whatever it is, you're riding something midair and you're just shooting different weapons at loads of different enemies that are coming toward you on the right of the screen. Then there's a boss battle. But with something like Super R-Type, there's lots of things that you're just not going to shoot, but you've got to dodge as well. And what I love about the graphics on Super R-Type is there's a really nice foreground as well as a background, and then obviously you've got your mid-ground. So it just looks really, really stellar. And like I say, it's really, really fast. You have to have really good reflexes. And for that reason, I found it quite immersive because you're concentrating so much on what's going on the TV, looking for the next ship that's going to come on or the next laser that's going to blast you. And you've got to be ready. So it really keeps you on your toes. So yes, it is a little bit more expensive, but Super R-Type is definitely worth having in your retro gaming collections. Let's swing over to the Sega Mega Drive. Not my preferred 16-bit console, but I'm going to talk to you guys about Aladdin. It was a Disney classic movie back in the day, and boy did it live up to expectations on the Sega Mega Drive. What with all the familiar characters, really nice level design, great enemy design, lots of different, like not puzzles as such, but kind of areas that you get to and you think, oh, do I go up on that canopy or do I jump over this barrel? You know, you kind of have some choices with Aladdin. So I just freaking loved it. And as a big fan of the movie, the cartoon, I just found it so heartwarming to play back in the day, and so much so that we're now getting a HD remake on current gen consoles. So that's super awesome, and I think it's a massive testament to just how much people loved and enjoyed Aladdin. And it's not one of those games that you think you're going to enjoy, but when you play it, it's really responsive. You know, just like, it's really kind of basic, like throwing apples. You know, you think, oh, that doesn't sound very interesting, but it's actually really cool. So I love the graphics, I love the music, I love the movements, and I love that the level design, now you can kind of pick different ways that you want to go up on the canopies. Like I said, you can swing, the swingy motion, you know, leaping over different obstacles. It's really cool. It's a good all-rounder, and you've definitely got to check out Aladdin on the Sega Mega Drive. Next up then, let's talk about an NES title, which is actually a little bit of a cheat. And I'm using this on the NES because I played it the majority on the NES, but you can actually get it in the arcade, on the Sega Mega Drive. I'm going to go with Rainbow Islands. So this is a game that's kind of like stands out for me. It's a puzzle kind of adventure game, and you've literally, you have rainbows that you can shoot at enemies, and you can also use the rainbows to climb up the level. So you've got different layers and you're moving from bottom to top, similar to like kind of like Donkey Kong from bottom to the kind of top. And you got to get up, you got to collect different fruits, different items, get as many points as possible whilst dodging different enemies. And there's lots of really cool designs with the level variations, the level color palettes. I mean, it really does look stunning. I mean, rainbow suggests bright popping colors anyway, and islands just sounds really cool. And I think that the level design is testament to the title in itself. So I played it the most on the NES. My question to you is, which console or home computer or arcades have you played Rainbow Islands on the most? It really is awesome. My phone's going off. It really is a cute, quirky little game, and it's family friendly as well. So bear that in mind if you've got young ones. Rainbow Islands is super cute to play. You just kind of like shooting little rainbows out, building the rainbows on top of each other, and away you go. But bear in mind, you can't like build millions of layers of rainbows. I think you can build 2 layers, and then if you try to build a third, the bottom one will kind of like poof up in smoke and disappear. So there's a little bit of strategy involved with this as well, which I really like. Good challenge. Again, like with Super R-Type, you've got to be quick with your reflexes, but that's cool because it makes it more immersive. Let's talk about another title, which is actually, I'm going to talk about 2 handhelds now, the Game Boy Advanced, and I'm going to talk about the Game Boy as well. I said I wasn't going to mention any Mario games, but I'm actually cheating because for me personally, no other Game Boy game comes close to 6 golden coins. And it feels very different to the classic Super Mario Brothers franchise, so it's kind of like a little bit of a spin-off. That's why I thought I'd bend my own rules a little bit. If you haven't played 6 golden coins, where have you been? Top-down map, different themed levels like the turtle level, the tree level, and you've got to get 6 golden coins basically to then go on and beat the boss and then beat the game. That sounds very easy, but there's lots of trickery involved, lots of puzzles, you know, I just used to love the grabber machine, like where you've got that conveyor belt of all the different items, right, and you've got to time it just right, and I was like, I want that extra life. I don't want a carrot, I want an extra life. very rarely got it because I'm not very coordinated that way, but there's little bits of puzzles that break up from the normal kind of side-scrolling levels in 6 golden coins. So it's a rich environment. It's a really tasty little game, and I also think it looks great played on the Super Game Boy. If I've got one up here somewhere, so you can kind of play Game Boy games on your Super Nintendo through that kind of additional bit of hardware there. It looks really nice on that. So I'm not going to say much more about golden coins, 6 golden coins, because I think the majority of my viewers would have played it, and I was kind of thinking, are there other Game Boy games, Tetris, yes, that really kind of stand out for me? And my answer was no. That's why I'm mentioning it. Finally then, we're going to go to the Game Boy Advance. This again for me was an important game, an important trilogy on the Super Nintendo. But the reason I'm mentioning it on the handheld is because there's nothing better than playing Final Fight on a handheld. I prefer playing Final Fight on a handheld over my arcade cab and my Super Nintendo. Again, 15, 12, maybe 15 quid upwards for a copy of Final Fight. Final Fight 1 it is. And it's just, again, really, really cool formula. It was the Super Nintendo's answer to Streets of Rage, but then it kind of came onto the Game Boy, and I love playing it on the Game Boy Advance SP. Obviously it's backlit, whereas the Advance it isn't. So I've had hours and hours of fun on that, and it's one of those games that I can go back to and just play like it's my first time every time, even though you know what's coming and what to expect. Final Fight 1 on the GBA. It's just a tasty port from the Super Nintendo, and I think it's for me, it's definitely like a staple game on the GBA. I've got my GBA games just down the back here, and I couldn't imagine my GBA collection without it. So there we go, guys. I have stayed away specifically from kind of the CD-based games. I might do another episode and talk about OG Xbox, GameCube, Sega Mega CD. Let me know if that's what you want. Smash a comment below. But for now, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for all the support recently. There's loads and loads more content coming. I'm super excited to get into the channel even more. But my name is Gemma. See you on Friday. Have a great day.